Life. I was just answering some comments on my channel, and one person was asking me if I made my $1 million from the Spective scam. Now, it's some people say it's a scam, some people say it's not a scam. I'm not gonna get into the details of my opinion of Spective in this video. All I want to say before I talk about how most investors make money is how I made money. Let me just clear that up real quickly. Now, for Spective specifically, if you guys are around investors who are obviously unhappy because that company did not work out, I personally made lots of Spective tokens as somebody who was referring people for investments. So I told a lot of people about Spective, and then there was like, I don't know what, 10% or something referral fee. And so if you invest like, I don't know, 1,000 Spective, I get 100 Spective as somebody who referred you. I think that's how I made a lot of like Spective tokens, and for helping around and just being really really useful, as I was to many companies at that time, as like maybe an advisor, maybe as somebody who was helping develop the economics, helping keep track of stuff, managing communities. I did lots of really small things back then, and I was doing many like small jobs in almost startups, because there were all these companies that I was helping were basically startups, and there was many different like PR marketing tasks that needed help and needed somebody to who knows what they're doing to handle them. So there's more than enough work for everybody who was interested in being helpful and had half of a brain, or at least some decent knowledge in marketing, crypto, and so on, right? Or any type of financial startup. At the end of the day, I made quite a bit of tokens. I think it was about maybe 700,000 tokens or something, or 70,000 tokens. I don't remember exactly. Maybe it was 700,000. I have to check my portfolio. But the issue is, as soon as I hit the market, the price was really, really low. I was not interested in selling for such a low price. I was waiting for the price to get back to closer to the ICO price. It never got back closer to the ICO price. I never actually sold, and now years later, they closed up shop. They ran out of funds, and they gave back like a portion of the money left, just distributed proportionally among all people still holding the token. I submitted my tokens for like that partial refund, and I don't think I ever got the Ethereum back, that small amount of Ethereum that I would have been able to claim with those tokens. So I never actually made zero profit from that company. Just to make that clear. But going back to how I personally made money investing, most of my actual money I made was I made most of my money from actual Vibe Hub when it was an ICO stage. Back at that time, I was a really active researcher, a really active investor, which means I I knew about a lot of companies. Knowing about a lot of companies, you have a lot of companies to compare each other to, and it's quite easy to see which companies have a good idea what they're doing, which companies don't have a good idea what they're doing. Once you have this broad spectrum of companies you have looked at, this broad spectrum of white papers you have read, and a big spectrum of CEOs you spoke to. Now, most investors that are really, really serious don't even read white papers, and I'll say why in a second. Was that a comment? Okay. And basically, all you need to do is make sure that the foundation of a company is decent, and the people that are running the company are decent, and that the overall thing makes sense. It doesn't have to be polished, doesn't have to be advanced, doesn't have to be done. It just has to make sense. Now, most of the projects did not make sense. Most projects were same as the dot-com bubble. They were the crypto bubble, and everyone was making a project back then. Everyone and their grandma had an ICO. So as long as you're only talking to the decent ones, you have a 1 in 20, 1 in 30 chance of making like a lottery ticket play. So that's what I did, and that's what most investors do. They wait for a time when the trend and the hype and the money is there and things are happening. For example, right now things are not happening, so most investors are very dormant right now. So most investors are seasonal investors. They wait for trends, big moves, and then follow a trend, right? That's the easiest way to invest. That anybody can make money like that. My grandma could make money like that. I made money with not much knowledge back then. It was a lot of luck. It was a lot of hard work, a lot of research, a lot of time spent talking to people, and a lot of luck. I didn't know things about trends back then, so I didn't know I was in a good trend. Now, when I have broader spectrum of information and experience, I know how the trend was back then, how the trend is right now, how the trend will possibly be in the future. So that's kind of something I'm learning as I go. I'm not your 50-year-old Warren Buffett investor. I'm a new breed of investors. And many people often ask me, is like, have you ever worked for a VC? I was like, why? I have no idea what you're talking about. They're like, well, you sound like a VC person. No, I just developed that from experience. And that's how I believe most investors should be thinking is basically use common sense of what makes sense, what doesn't, have a really broad comparison of investments, and then compare and contrast. You can't really know if an investment is good or bad if you look at one or two companies. You have to look at 100 companies and then at least see that some are making progress, some are not. Some are keeping their deadlines and schedules, some are not. Some did what they said they were going to do, even if they were late. Some didn't do what they were going to say what they were going to do. Some change their vision every 5 minutes. Some say this but do something very similar and kind of stop talking about what they said earlier and act as if it never happened. So once you have this broad comparison, then you can say if one investment is good. If you want to come to me and ask me like, is this investment good, and that's the only investment you looked at, you shouldn't be an investor. That's not how it works. Unless you can dedicate a full-time job, like 8 hours a day, into investing and researching, you cannot be an investor. You can't be an investor as a side hustle. That's not how it works. That's being a passive investor. That's being dumb money. Might as well just buy into a hedge fund. Might as well just use a crypto syndicate. If you want to be an actual investor and be standalone and make a lot of money, you have to be self-sufficient. You have to not rely on other people, because the moment you rely on other people is the moment those people will make the most profit. To have a manager in as a hedge fund, to have a manager in crypto investments, or somebody that will help you invest, those people make a cut. And the cut they make will cut into your profit and make you less likely to end up in profit at the end of the year. Because after you pay those people, after all the things that are taken care of, the money that's left is, even if you were theoretically in profit, after you pay all the hefty fees, it's a question of what profit and how much will be there, and if it was even worth your time. Now, going back to how I actually made investments. So what ends up happening is, once you look at 200 companies and you find 40 decent ones, or 20, which is really hard. It's really hard to, like, even if you look at 300 companies, it's really hard to find like 5 decent ones. I cannot count on my fingers 5 decent companies I'm happy with over the last 3 years. I cannot count 5. It's really hard. I can count like 30 which I liked and made sense and were successful enough for their stock or their coin to go up in price. But I cannot name like 5 companies which I was proud of when I invested and I'm still proud of right now. I just can't do it, because serious companies are really rare. It's just how it is. So out of 100 companies, you'll have one actual winner. They can hold for 5 years. Out of 100 companies, you might have 20 which will be profitable at some point, and then it's timing, knowing how to exit. Now, that's a whole different story. Most, like, even if you are a level 1 investor and you get in properly, the next level is knowing when to exit. I know people who made way more money than me in Vibe Hub. Like, I know people who invested like, I don't know, $50,000 or $100,000 in Vibe Hub. You multiply that by 300x. That's the approximate amount of how much it jumped. And they made like, I don't know, 20 million or something. I know a person who made 20 million. His name starts with a J. And if you're watching, man, you're cool. I like you. I respect you. And you learned a lesson there. You got a good investment. You put a lot of money into it, but you didn't exit. That's the last and most important piece of the puzzle. Many rich people say that it's easy to make money. It's hard to keep it. And that's exactly what we see in this example, is that You can get, even if you pick, one out of, I don't know, 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 5 that are decent and will go up. When they go up, you need to exit and actually turn that theoretical profit into actual profit. Because unless you get the money back, it's only theoretical, and you never actually were profitable. You never actually made that money. It was money you could have made, but you didn't. So it's not actual money you made. Now, going back to so you have the 20 good, decent companies, right, out of 100 you researched. What you do is you shoot everywhere. You make 20 investments. 20 not like significant investments, which means you have to have some chunk of capital. You can't be an investor with $100. I'm sorry, it's not how it works. Because it'll not be worth the time you spent. Even if you multiply that by 100, what's that? $10,000? If you're very, 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 very lucky. But the time you need to spend and the energy to find that one lucky winner and then play the odds, because only one out of the 20 that it's decent will go up 100 times, right? So first you gotta find like 20 decent ones and then play roulette and see if you hit that one. So you have to have $100 times 20, which is $2,000, right? So you need to have like a minimum of a couple $1,000, spread it out over like 20 decent investments, and just, it's literally a game of luck, because at the end of the day, you can be the best CEO with the best idea, the perfect timing, and best funding, best team. You can just get unlucky. It happens all the time. I've seen many really good companies not go through. I mean, Spective is actually a good example, because Spective had everything right. It just wasn't lucky. And I think what's his partner's name? I'm sorry. Was it Nick? I forgot. So those are pretty cool guys. They're smart. They had the ambition. They had a lot of things going for them, but they didn't have the luck. So you have these 20, and you spread your investments out to 20 companies. You will get one winner. That's just how investing works. Now, if that one winner will cover all the other losses and bring you a profit, it's also like a game of luck. So most huge investors don't like take one investment and hold it like a puppy. They make 20 and just let it go. Let it go. Keep track of them nonstop, and keeping track is important so you know how to exit. But you don't don't hug them and cry over them. So it's when you, I'm sure you guys seen like those like Telegram groups or those Slack groups if you're been semi-involved in crypto, where you see always one person that's always crying and bitching about like, oh my god this, oh my god that. That's not a professional investor. People that are usually crying and bitching are people who invested $5 and they're sad that they lost their $5. I'm sorry, that's how it works. I'm not saying those people are stupid or bad. I'm just saying those people don't have enough experience or emotional stability to be investors, and if they're crying and bitching, they shouldn't be investors. Now, if I'm insulting somebody, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to insult people here. I'm just trying to say what I think is important, and it's not a fun game. It's not a game of compassion. It's pretty hardcore. It's a meat grinder. So getting out alive on the other side is not easy. If it was, everyone would be rich. So that's why I'm not a fan of the financial world anymore, because there is not much morals, not much, how would I say, fairness, kindness. It's a pretty like, I think a meat grinder is the best way to put it. Yeah, it's a pretty fucked up jungle, and most people there are there for money because it's finance. People are there to make money. If people are there to make money, then their morals are usually pretty low. I'm not trying to say if you like money, your morals are low, but it usually goes hand in hand. But going back to investment, at the end of the day, you can't be an investor with less than a couple $1,000s. It's not going to be worth your time. Might as well just go work a job. You'll make more money. When you look at the time and energy you spend, you'll make more money just doing an average, like a minimum wage job. If you want to be an investor, you got to have some capital and a lot of free time. And so that means you got to have money for your bills, not have a job, or be retired or be independent financially. be a hippie like me, and have a lot of energy. So you gotta have the energy, the time, the mental space, and most importantly, the capital. You gotta start with capital. You need money to make money. It's a golden rule. So you just that's when you have but that's why you see these people who are millionaires and become more bigger and bigger millionaires, because the more starting capital you have, the more you have power to invest. So it's easy to be a multimillionaire when you're a millionaire. It's easy to make 50 grand when you have a couple grand. If you don't have savings right now or don't have money for this month's bills, you should not focus on investing right now. It's not the right time for you, most likely. So that's how I made my money. I made about 30 investments, maybe about somewhere a couple $100, or somewhere in the thousands, right? And somewhere a lot of money. But out of 30 or 40 of them, only like two or three made me good money. And but those two or three, Vibe jumped up. What was it? 250 times or 300 times, because I got in about it was less than a penny, like zero point 0.7 cents or something was the price, the bulk order price. I got in as because I was ordering with a couple people and we got the bulk discount, and I sold most of my Vibe over $2.50. You do the math. It's a lot of money. Unfortunately, I didn't invest tens of thousands of dollars. I invested maybe like, what was it, a grand or so. So that made me about 300 grand. The mistake I made when I cashed it out to Bitcoin. I didn't cash out to USD because USD was dollars were my initial investment. I should have cashed out back to my initial investment. I cashed out to other cryptos. I cashed out to Ripple. I cashed out to Bitcoin. I cashed out to Dash, Bitcoin Cash. I just spread it everywhere. But that was greed and lack of experience. I had the brains, but not the experience. There's many factors involved to making money and then keeping money. Yeah, it's easy to get rich, but staying rich is the hard part. The good thing is that whole up and down roller coaster made me realize what money does to me and that I can make it if I want it. And it kind of released that ego complex I had. So,
Gary said thanks for being honest about your money strategy.
oh yeah, Gary, of course. I'm a hippie. I vow to be honest. So it's an interesting road being a hippie. I mean, not an actual hippie. I just that's the closest thing the label I can find. I can't really, yeah, I can't really put a label on myself, but that's how I explain it to the people that don't know me personally. So yeah, I have recently said I vowed to myself, I will speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Yeah, that was one of the best promises I made myself. I think I did it at the start of 2020, and it's not an easy promise to keep, but it makes life so much easier. It makes life from being secretive, competitive, into simple. Like either it works or it doesn't. People either love you or hate you. No drama, no problems, no strings attached. So, but yeah, I might make a whole new video just about that. Thanks for inspiration, Gary. At the end of the day, there was one thing I wanted to explain. Oh yeah, white papers and yeah, this is why. Now this is the difference between a professional investor and a really good amateur investor. A professional investor will not read a white paper, and I realized this after reading a couple hundred white papers, maybe about 100 or so. I realized that reading white papers is a waste of time, and here's why. So if you're a CEO, and a visionary, and a mega smart dude, and this is something you guys will love hearing. And thank you guys for watching. This is like 20 minutes or something. Thank you for watching the 20 up to this 20 minutes. If you're still here, this is for you. You deserve to know this. So, a CEO who's a smart guy has lots of responsibility. Many people look up to him and wait for his orders. Do you think he has the time to put down his entire vision into a white paper, which is like 40 pages or 20 pages or even five, and do that himself, it's like writing a book. If you ever tried to write, like, I don't know, a 10-page essay, you don't know how impossibly hard it is. It's like a couple weeks of work at the very minimum. So a guy who has people literally waiting for his commands, a great leader, do you think he has the fucking time to write a fucking white paper? No, of course not. He explains it as best as possible to his secretary or his second in command or a person that's good with words and has half a brain. He explains it to that person. He's like, "You, this is what needs to come across. Get that message across." Do you really think that secondhand information will be able to represent the idea and the mission and the core principles of the company? Most of the time, it's like halfway there. It's halfway there most of the time. It's like my spirituality video. Do you really think the Bible gets the Jesus Christ's message across? I don't think so. I think it's his vision is amazing, but did that person who wrote the Bible, which got translated like 5 times and rewritten and censored many times, does that still have the original message? No, it doesn't. Does the white paper have the original message of that visionary, of that great leader, a CEO? No, it doesn't. So unless you watch an interview that the CEO did, like, which is like at least an hour long. So it has to be like more than an hour long interview just for you to actually see what the guy feels and thinks and wants to say and wants to do. So it has to be at least an hour long interview or a phone call with one of the key members. So a co-founder, his really good friend in the company, his partner or something, right? Or the CEO himself. So whenever I want to invest in a company, I do my best to contact the CEO and have a 30-minute conversation with him personally. And I did for that for most of my investments. I had at least a 30-minute conversation with every single CEO of the company invested in. So unless you can do that, you should not be investing. If you read a white paper and invest in a company, you're probably a good investor, but you're not a professional. I'm not trying to insult you. I'm just saying that there's better ways to do it. And the real professionals, that's how they do it. Because they know a book can never represent a person, and a white paper can never represent the vision and the purpose and the core of the company. Because some words, just this, me trying to give you guys what I think and feel through this video, which with my body language and these words in English, maybe gets about 80% of the message I want to get across. But it's questionable. Words themselves are a limiting factor. And then, like, having them written without tonacity, without body language, without eyesight, without my facial expressions, they're motionless text. So motionless black and white text with the limitations of whatever language, English language, any language, it's still language which limits the mind into like words in a sequence. Do you really think that can get any like of the message across? If it gets 50% of the message across, you're lucky. It's a really good white paper, but most of them get like 15 to 30% of the message across at best. Like if you get a 50% of the message from a white paper, it's a really professional white paper, and it was done by a paid professional, which was paid a couple $1,000s to write the white paper. So at the end of the day, if you really, really want to invest, you have to watch some hour-long interviews that a CEO or a really high-up person in the company did, or speak to the guy yourself. Just be like, hey, I'm interested in investing. This is what I can offer. Tell them all the benefits you can possibly bring. Maybe like, some YouTubers or some marketing possibilities, or, some other investors who are bigger investors and might be interested, and be like, yeah, I really want to learn about your company and I would love to help you get investments or get marketing or anything you can offer, or just be a volunteer. Help the manage community, or just do anything you can offer. Tell them, be like, yeah, I actually want to help, but I would like to get to know the CEO. Like, is that possible? And he will, if you actually, say this from, sincerely and truthfully, the CEO will make at least 15 minutes for you. I mean, he's not a good CEO if he doesn't make 15 minutes for a really interested person who wants to help. So he will make at least 15 minutes available for a really short call with you, and get a guy on call and ask him, how many full-time members he has. Ask him, like, I'm gonna make a video about all the good questions to ask, and yeah, we'll make that a different video. It's already getting dark. There's no light left. I'm gonna go watch a movie with my girlfriend. She's freezing behind the camera. I'm sorry, honey. Thank you for helping me. I love you, and thank you guys for watching. I love you guys too. Not as much my girlfriend though, but do definitely, if you're still here, please do subscribe. I want to get to you guys. Tell me what you think in the comments. Let's talk.